Hi again. Fingers crossed. Hopefully this will work. I'm on my phone now, and who knows? My what's it called? My laptop video camera has been not working, but it was in Zoom and it was not working, and so I figured, oh, it's a Zoom thing, but apparently it's a video camera thing. So this is perfect for this talk because this is what we're doing. We're flying by the seat of our pants, right? So not only you, but me and so many others. So we're in this together. And that's really what I wanted to create an atmosphere of today. I want to be here together, supporting each other, taking some deep breaths together, hopefully laughing together, and really finding ways to maintain our composure and our connection and our intuition and our creativity as conscious parents. So I'm glad you're here with me. I'm going to take a drink of some water here and slow down for just a minute since I was a little bit frantic there trying to get this started again.
I'm getting your old 1 minute intro.
Okay. So my husband says he's not getting this, so I can't check it. So that's okay. I'm going to go with it, and that's what I'm going to do. So I invite you, first of all, to, if you want to, you can tell me where you're watching from, what's going on in your world. Feel free to do that. If you want to wave or do something, you can do that as well, and I'll acknowledge some probably, and then I'll get really focused. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Shonnie Lavender, and I'm a parent coach, and really what that means for me and my clients is I work with parents around the world to really parent in a conscious, loving way, no matter what the ages of their children, no matter what their backgrounds. And so I support them through Zoom calls, through classes, webinars, things like that. So I am a parent as well. I have a 9-year-old daughter and a husband as well. So sort of like a child, right? Hi, Corley. So glad you're here. So what I want to do as we're settling in and getting started today is I want to first acknowledge that everybody watching and everybody who does watch this is in a bit of a different situation, right? So we all have different family structures, we have different working conditions, we have different cultures, we have different health statuses. So there's lots of differences. And so what I want you to know is I'm going to do my best to speak generally to us as parents, and also acknowledge that the differences sometimes really, really matter and make things really hard for certain families that are easier for other families, and vice versa. So please know that I appreciate where you are, wherever you are, and I would invite you, when you're watching, to take what I'm sharing and make it work for you. So if something doesn't feel like it fits, that's totally fine. These are offerings and invitations for you. Also, you have wisdom. I am a parent coach, but that doesn't mean I am the expert. It means I have some ideas and some expertise that I'd love to share with you, and yet I invite you all to support each other as well, because that's really, to me, one of the blessings of this time is we are remembering that we are connected. We are remembering that we're community, and that we are not ever doing life alone, parenting alone, although sometimes it really feels like it. So that's what I invite you all to do as well, is connect in the comments. If you have some things that have been helping your family, please feel free to share those in that same spirit of it's an offering you're making. It's not something you're telling people they should do. It's simply an idea. And if you want, I'd love to hear too how coronavirus and what's going on in your community, how you're feeling impacted. Does it feel like a big impact right now? Are you feeling really stressed? Does it feel minimal? Are you worried, not worried? And no judgment, just another way to connect. And that's another way that people can say, oh, you're in my neck of the woods, you're in my part of the planet. So feel free to do that in comments. So let me tell you what we're going to talk about, even though hopefully it's in the description above or below, depending on what kind of device you're watching on. We are going to do some settling in here in just a moment, and then I'm going to talk about conscious approaches to fear, our own and our children's, conscious approaches to other emotions and unwanted behaviors. I'm going to talk about schoolwork, and then I'm going to talk generally about navigating the unknown. So hopefully some or all of those topics will resonate with you. That's where we're going to be going, though. So before we get into the full range of topics, I am going to close my eyes for just a minute, and I invite you, if that works for you where you are, to settle in and close your eyes, or if that doesn't work for you, take some deep breaths and relax as much as you can. I acknowledge you as a parent. In the midst of all this change, all this uncertainty, you are showing up. You are doing your absolute best for yourself, for your children, for others that you love in your wider community. The stress is high, maybe higher than you'd like it to be, maybe a lot higher, maybe just a bit. And despite all this, you are there. You are doing what you know to do, to be compassionate, patient, gentle with your children, gentle with yourselves. And so I invite you simply to take some breaths and give yourself an acknowledgement. Give yourself a pat on the back. You can reach around and pat your back, or give yourself a hug. You don't have to social distance from yourself. Say thank you. Even though, yes, there may have been times that were not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, or things that you wish you could do over. Take a moment now to say thank you to yourself and to acknowledge all that you've done, all that you are, right here and right now. I think that's a really important piece, and I wanted to start with that because so often as parents, and even in this time of coronavirus, we may be looking at friends' social media feeds and seeing, oh, their kids did this schoolwork, or they're doing it this way, or they made this thing. And it's so easy to compare ourselves and to view ourselves as less than. And that doesn't help. That doesn't help. It makes things even more stressful. So I wanted to start by inviting you to remember how brilliant you already are, how beautiful, how loving, how courageous, how conscious you already are. No matter if you do anything else differently, you're doing such a wonderful job in adapting to this changing and rapidly changing and uncertain world. So the first topic I wanted to talk about is fear. So if you're feeling or have felt some fear during this time, or anybody in your family has felt some fear, I'd love to see a like, or you can do a sad face, whatever represents the fear for you. If you want to let me know, yeah, I've had some fear, or there's been some fear in my family. And that can be fear about the future. It could be fear about getting sick. It could be fear about somebody you love being sick or being isolated. It could be anything. So if that's how you felt at some point, I'd love to know that. Excuse me. Yeah, it's out there, and I know I felt it some too. So thanks, thanks for those thumbs up. That's helpful. So several things I want to say about fear is I've seen this in some posts from people at times, and it'll be like, don't let fear control you, and it's a negative emotion. You shouldn't go there. So there's some truth there, and I'll speak about that in a minute. And we're human beings, and we have emotional guidance, and that's what our emotions do, is they help us be aware of what's going on around us, what's going on inside of us. And so I invite you to, rather than to say, nope, I'm not going to fear, simply notice, oh, I'm feeling afraid right now, or my son or my daughter is feeling afraid. and observe it from a more objective standpoint and say, oh, that's how they're feeling, and that's okay. When we deny our feelings, they tend to stick with us and they get stronger, and they usually then lead to some unwanted behavior and some unwanted results that we want in our own bodies, raising our stress level, things like that. So by denying our fear or trying to shut it down, we're really denying our human experience. If you feel afraid, you feel afraid. So that's something I think is a really important piece that we tend to forget. And so like we did just a minute ago, I would encourage you to actually thank your mind body for feeling fear and say thank you, because that's part of the way we're wired. We've been wired that way as human beings. All creatures have that fear wiring. That keeps us safe and keeps us alive. And so we want to be able to touch into that fear. So along those same lines, I invite you to listen for what are the messages that fear might be bringing to you. Everybody's are going to be a little bit different. So maybe fear for you is it's telling you that you get really hooked into the future and wanting to control it. I would relate to that. That would be something I would do. So it's not to judge it. It's simply to notice, oh, I really get concerned and consumed with what ifs and thinking ahead and planning. Not bad, not good, simply a notice. So let those moments when you're feeling fearful be an invitation to say, let me pause and consider what's underneath this fear. And there's some blessings there. So look at it, and then you can be discerning about what to do with it from that point on. If you're being overwhelmed by fear, so here's where the fear is not a good thing, quote unquote, comes in. So for many people, times like this tend to increase feelings of anxiety, fear, panic, all those things that then lead to cascading other things in their lives, whether it's behaviors that don't serve them, or just that deep rumination that they get really stuck in fear and all consumed, and you spend all day looking for the news that, is going to prove something, and that can really be debilitating. So if you're finding yourself in that place of, oh, I'm really overwhelmed by the fear, or my child is feeling overwhelmed by fear, that's a little bit different. That's where then you want to say, okay, what can I do to mediate that? What can I do to address those fears so that the fear level goes down? So that might mean just some ideas. That might mean going outside, getting away from your social media. It might be talking to a neighbor at that 6-foot distance. It might be calling a friend and saying, I want to hear some good news. It might be being on social media but posting some funny things. And I'm going to talk about that hopefully at the end. If I don't, remind me about the toilet paper meme. So do those things when you notice fear is becoming consuming for you or your children or somebody else in your circle. Do those things that help lessen the fear, get your mind out of that loop of the what ifs and it's terrible and the scare. Do those things. So I'd love to hear from you now, those of you who are listening live, and if you're not listening live and you're watching a recording, post it in the comments. What are some ways that you use that are effective and healthy for you in calming your fears? So post it in the comments. You can be a couple words, a sentence. What are you doing personally, and what are you doing in your family that helps bring that fear level down? While you're typing, I'm going to share a few that we use in our family. So EFT, or tapping, you may have heard of that. That's one that we love to use. Exercise, so getting out there, being physical. Just before this video, we went for a little walk as a family. Meditation, prayer, all those things can be helpful. It can be as simple as taking a bath or taking a shower, doing something nourishing, nurturing for your physical body. Maybe it's some hobbies. I know a lot of people are using some of this time to say, I haven't been out in the garden lately, or I wanted to always learn to knit, or my kids like to paint, so we've been getting the paints out. So those kinds of things can be helpful as well. reading, again, being mindful of what you're reading, laughter, playing games, naps, cooking, so lots of different things. So feel free to share those. What are you doing? What helps you? Bike rides, I love it, Erin. Yeah, so fresh air, moving our bodies. Also, the thing that I think is interesting that I've talked to a number of families and recently, and one of the things that I've heard over and over again is something on this variation. I'm so enjoying not having to rush around and get anywhere. So yeah, bike rides, walking, running, we slow down to more human speed, which often we're not. Often we're in a car or we're on a train or on a bus and we're moving fast, faster than we can really take in all that's outside us. And so bike rides are a great way to be a little bit slower, depends on your speed of your riding, but yeah, slow down. Oh, I want to get off the bike right now. I just saw a flower. I saw something that looked interesting. Yeah, so I love it, Erin. Love, love, love. All right, so I'm going to move on to talking about other emotions now. How do we deal with other emotions? Because fear is not the only one we're feeling, right? We might be feeling some frustration, some irritation, some worry, which is a version of fear, right? But we might be feeling relaxed or elation. There might be some real relief in some parts of this journey that we're on right now. I'm going to focus, even though there's lots of those emotions that we enjoy feeling, I'm going to focus more on the ones that we prefer to not feel or we prefer our kids to not express. So the things I want to say about other emotions, and a lot of this applies to fear as well, is it is likely and it's normal and it's totally expected that you and your children and your partners are going to be feeling a wide range of emotions, just like you do on a given day. Just knowing, though, that the stress that is being felt by most of us in some form or fashion is something that tends to bring our emotions more to the forefront, make them more volatile, make them bigger, make them more popping in and out from this emotion to that emotion, and not necessarily having a more steady, stable sense of just, oh, I'm sort of content and I'm at ease, I'm at peace. So number one, as much as possible, really make room for all the different emotions. So again, we can put limits and boundaries around behaviors. So that doesn't mean, oh, okay, my children are mad with each other and so I'm going to allow them to hit each other. No, absolutely, you can have boundaries and work with those consciously. It does mean, though, that you recognize, oh, yeah, they're feeling angry. I get it. It's an okay emotion to feel. That's a human emotion. So really making space for emotions. And one way you can think about it, too, is especially because so many people are spending more time together as families than maybe they're used to. Now, maybe rather than your kids being at school and expressing those emotions during the school day, often they don't. They save them often for where they feel safest and most secure with us. But if you're noticing that, oh, there's a lot more emotions than I'm used to dealing with, you may want to purposefully have some times and have some opportunities to let's get out some of our emotions. Because especially as kids get older, I would say 7, 8, 9, they start to be more self-aware, and so they know, for instance, that, yeah, mom doesn't really love it when I'm angry, right? So they may self-censor some. And if they're doing that, like I said with fear, if they're trying to hold on to that emotion, it's just going to be building up and it's going to have to come out at some point or in some fashion. So it can be great to invite, let's get out our emotions. There was the dance and the song that a lot of kids did when they were younger, shake the sillies out, wiggle the wobbles out, all those songs. You can do that. So you can be like, let's stomp our angry out, and so you stomp and you do it because you have those emotions too, even though you're trying to hide them from your kids. So that's a great way to do it, is purposely say, hey, let's have some time to do some emotional release in a safe, fun, connecting way. So you can do an emotional dance. You can boogie out the blues. You can shake the worry out and use your bodies, so shake. You can't see me all right because I'm a little close, but you can shake, you can stomp, you can, whisper, scream to the air, whatever you want to do to help have that release and let everybody know, hey, it's okay. We get that we're feeling beings and we're going to let out some of those feelings. You can also do things like, maybe at the end of the day, instead of roses and thorns or talking about what did you love about today, what was challenging, you might write down what were the emotions we felt. Just scribble them real fast on a sheet of paper. And then maybe you look at them and say, wow, look at all those feelings we had. And acknowledge those. The more we can help our kids, this is great emotional literacy for them. The more we can say, oh, look, we were human. We felt these things. And again, maybe they didn't all get expressed in the best way from our perspective. That's okay. You're acknowledging that this is part of our experience right now. You really normalize it and you make it something where then, hey, we don't have to be afraid of feelings. Remember too that unexpressed emotions are often, not always, but often under behaviors that we don't like. So when we or our children are, quote, misbehaving or behaving in ways that we don't prefer, often there is an emotional component underneath. So let's say, for instance, your child is shouting at you, screaming at you. Sometimes when you look at it, if you pause and you get curious, you might find that, oh, you know what? They're feeling really overwhelmed, or they're feeling scared, or they're feeling bored, or they're feeling frustrated, or they're feeling lonely. So if you take the time and you say, oh, wait a minute, there's this outward behavior that I see that I'm not cool with. What's underneath it? Same for yourself. Boy, I just was really snappy with my kids or something like that. Then you can look and say, you know what? I'm feeling really unsupported. Maybe that's time to reach out to a mama friend or papa friend or another family member and say, can you just hear me vent for 5 minutes? Because I'm totally overwhelmed and I'm not loving this moment. All those things. So those unwanted behaviors can be a great signal to pause and look underneath. What's an emotion? What might be going on under there that could use some tending in yourself or your kids? So I'd love to hear from you if you're willing to share. What are some of the emotions you've been feeling? It may be fear, maybe joy, maybe, peace. What's been going on running through your system or the systems of your kids? And remember, this is not a quiz. There are no wrong answers. I'm so glad you all are here. I know for me, one of the things I've been noticing is a little more irritation at times, because it's like, oh wait, I'm in graduate school right now and I'm doing some work as well. And so it's like, I've got that and, doing my best to cook. And so then my daughter is not in school and how do I coordinate those things? And at times feeling that frustration. Also been feeling a lot of peace, fear and stress. Yeah, that's very common, Corley. Yeah, so we're feeling those things. So sometimes just naming it and going, yeah, this is how I've been feeling. And especially if somebody else says, me too. Yeah, it can really be like, whew, it's not just me. Even though we know that intellectually, we know it's not just me. To hear it from a friend and be like, oh, whew, I can relax into that a little bit. Okay. So let's talk about one of the topics that is up. And Erin, I see yours. I'm going to comment there for just a minute. We're going to go to schoolwork in a minute because that's something that a lot of parents are like, about. So Erin, yeah, irritation. It's harder to have boundaries with work. Yeah. And so just sometimes, again, saying it, noticing like, oh, it's harder. The one thing I'll say, and I'm so glad you brought that up, Erin, is one of the things that I invite us to do as well is to say, like you've just written, it's harder to have boundaries with work. Then to ask ourselves a question, what am I expecting of myself? So different people, we all have different ways we respond to stress. So we might be a person who, like, it's harder to have boundaries at work. And then the next thought is, but I should be able to do it. Or, but my kids should really be able to deal with this. I'm clenching my fist, right? So that might be sort of our wiring that says, I should be able to do this. And I don't know about you, but when I hear that word should, that's why I clench my fist. It's this tightening. And so it's like, no judgment, simply to notice, oh, you know what? I'm creating some extra stress. There's already stress out there. And, oh, I'm creating more than I need to. So again, no judgment, simply a notice and say, okay, what could I do to that? Oh, maybe I could take a breath and say, I'd like to be able to have more boundaries. And right now I'm going to be easier with myself. Right now I'm going to ask for more tolerance from my boss. Whatever it is. So it's those things, those opportunities that are gifts in this time of chaos and unknown is really, what's underneath here for me? What's underneath this for my family? Okay, schoolwork. I just heard my daughter say, I'm going outside. So, that's schoolwork, right? So here's what I want to say. Again, this is acknowledging that we're all in different situations. So your school system may be out, may not be out, may be out for 6 weeks. I have a cousin in the Seattle area that they're out for 6 weeks. Right now our schools are out for 2 weeks, though it's likely going to turn into more. But it's a don't know. It's an unknown. So we're in different situations. We also have different age children, and we have our own different expectations for our children. Our schools may have different expectations for them, like maybe they have to turn in work in a certain way or do things or be online and show that they're actually there. So I know that there's differences, so I want to acknowledge that. And again, share with you some ideas. So first, I'd invite you, hi Brenda. So first I'd invite you to have a conversation with your family about what works for your family. And specifically what I mean by that is ask your kids, ask yourself and answer, what is it you're wanting? What is it you're needing? What are your concerns? Okay, so put those things all out on the table. So this is definitely with, say, kids 9 and older. If you have younger kids, though, you can still ask them, if they're in kindergarten or first grade, you can ask them, hey, you're not in school, and yet we're going to be doing some school stuff. Make it really general, right? We're going to be doing some school stuff. What would you like our schoolhouse to be like, our home schoolhouse? You can make it, again, it can adapt it to whatever age child or children that you have, but have that conversation. Invite each other into a dialogue about what are we going for. And I think there's several things that are really important with this conversation. Is one, simply by having the conversation, you are demonstrating to your children that their voice matters. And so as a conscious parent, that to me is one of the fundamental pieces of conscious parenting is your voice matters. I'm not an authoritarian. I'm not coming down from on high most of the time with here's how it's going to be. We're going to co-create this. So it models that for them. It really sets that as a standard for your family. It also informs you, so often as parents, we forget what is our child's experience. We just think, oh, here's how it is for me, or here's how it might have been for me at that age. And we forget that they may have a completely different experience. So it's really valuable to listen and go, oh, they're really into the schoolwork. Great. Or they're really looking forward to this as vacation time. So how am I going to negotiate that? So that conversation is really helpful for so many reasons. Let that discussion help you co-create. So you don't have to answer it all at that conversation, but take notes. Say, okay, here's what we're wanting. And you can tell them, Mom's going to think about that. or we're going to get together, you know, your dad and I or your mom and I, we're going to get together and we're going to talk about this and see how we can create something. We'll come back to you with some ideas, okay? Great. So co-create something. And again, you're parents, so you do get to set boundaries and things, and yet that conversation helps you really include everybody in that planning process and find a way to make it work for everybody. A second point that's really important about schoolwork is be present with your kids. Now, this does not mean that you need to understand all their homework. I know for me, I'm like, okay, let me see what's in the homework packet. Do I know how to do these things? You don't have to be the expert. When I say be present, I'm really meaning be nearby, be engaged with them while they're sitting to do schoolwork or standing or building, whatever their schoolwork is. Because think about in a school setting, one of the things that's true is they have teachers who are engaging with them, checking in with them, hopefully always in a loving, supportive way. So we won't get into that, but you know, there is that back and forth. It's not, okay, they're locked in some isolation chamber doing homework or schoolwork, hopefully. They are in an interactive environment of some sort. So be present with your kids. Be nearby. And I know we've got some teachers, Erin, you know, you may have some tips as well, but be nearby them, let them know you're there. And I also like to ask, what is it they want from me at that time? Like, do you want me to check your answers? You know, maybe that's important to your child. Would you like me to be nearby to help you? Do you want to just call on me if you need something? You know, but again, don't make assumptions. Ask them. How can you support that process with them and for them? And know that kids may need less or more help with different subjects, different worksheets, different tasks. So your kid may be fine for 10 minutes working on one thing and not need you at all, but then maybe they need you for half an hour with something. So be willing to be adaptable. And it's okay also to say, like, you know what? We want to structure this time so I can really be present with you. And right now, I'm going to be making dinner. So let's pause on the schoolwork. Or can we do this at a time that this specific activity, can we do it at a time where I can be more present? So it's okay to speak up for your own needs as well. Okay, remember that. It's an important piece. Look for creative ways to adapt schoolwork. So again, this may or may not fit with your specific school situation, but maybe your child is struggling to do a math worksheet. It's not fun, they're bored, they're easily distracted. You could sit there and be like, you need to do your math worksheet. And probably we've all done some version of that because we're human. Or you can be like, what's this math worksheet about? Oh, it's adding. Let's go over into the kitchen and bake something, you know, and let's add, you know, okay, I think this says we're going to make 2 cookies, but if we want to make enough for the whole family, how many more would we need to make? Oh, 3 cookies, you know, so that's math right there. It's not a worksheet, but feel free to adapt the schoolwork if that works for you. If that feels too hard, let it go, but that can be another way. Like, you're still doing the things, you're just not doing them in the way that it was set forth by the school. If the tension is mounting during times of doing schoolwork for either you or your kids, time out, stop. It's so easy, and I've done this. I've definitely done this, you know, to just, oh, okay, well, we've only got one more problem. Let's keep doing it. Let's finish this worksheet. Now we're going to get it done. No, that's just a big recipe for disaster. So anytime tensions are mounting, take a deep breath. Notice, no judgment, just, it's not really going really well right now. Let's pause. Let's go outside. Why don't you be on your screen for a little bit? Why don't you read a book? Here's some clay, you know, come into the kitchen, let's bake. Whatever you want to do, take a pause from that schoolwork when tension is mounting. Everybody will be much happier for that choice. Another suggestion I have around schoolwork is bookend schoolwork time. And by that, what I mean is do some things, but let me back up for a second. Schoolwork is not a bad thing, and some kids really love it. Some kids really enjoy, like, okay, I'm going to do this task. Fine. Still, it is a time where they're having to use a certain part of their brain and really sort of hunker down, focus in. And especially for younger kids, that's harder. That's not where their main brain development is. So in general, even with a teenager, I would encourage you to bookend schoolwork time with things that kids really love. So different for different kids, but family connection time, physical exercise, playing a game, being on a screen doing something they really enjoy. Anything that is, again, acceptable to you. If it's something, they want to have a rock concert really loud, playing in their room and it's the baby's sleeping, you don't have to do that. But find something that you can both agree on that, hey, they really love to do, so that at the beginning, before they do schoolwork, and after they do it, there's some kind of really, that was so fun. That was so enjoyable. So that they have that going into a time of really focused concentration and as a release at the end of that focused concentration time. Final thing about schoolwork, and this goes back to touching in with emotions as well. Acknowledge your and their emotions out loud. So appreciate efforts, celebrate. So it might be, yay, you did a problem, on that worksheet. It's going to be different for every family. Let your focus be on celebrating and acknowledging. Just like I started this call with, it's really about, let's appreciate what is, how well we're doing. Yeah, are there things we can tweak? Are there things that were really sucky and didn't work well? Fine, that's okay. It still, though, is about saying, we're going to put our attention, we're going to put our focus on what is working, and we're going to appreciate and love on each other for those pieces. So let that be part of the schoolwork piece too, is like, yeah, we're going to celebrate. And you can just name the emotions too, like, yeah, sometimes it's a little boring, or it's, maybe ask your kid, how is this different than doing schoolwork at school? Maybe they like it better for some reasons, maybe they like it worse, all those things. So have those conversations and acknowledge, hey, we're all on a different experience, this is new for us, and see how it's going. Erin, let me see what you write here. I love these ideas. Yay! Take breaks and allow room for grace for both you and your kids. Yeah. And you don't have to make it at all like a normal school. Exactly. Because it's not. So it's like that idea where we're trying like, okay, they're supposed to be in school from this time to this time, and so we're trying our darndest to make that into that box. And it's like, it's not. This is the box, this is not my daughter's classroom, but maybe she's going to lay there and read some books some. Right now, she's out riding her bike. Yay, that is learning. That is her learning right now, and it doesn't fit into that neat package that we think schooling or homeschool. This is definitely not homeschool, but that idea of, okay, they're supposed to be doing work. Yeah, it's different. So a lot of grace for all of us. Thanks, Erin. So what's working well if you've had some fun with school related work in your family? What's worked well for you? If you want to share that, feel free to comment. And if you're struggling, if you want to put out, here's what's been happening. It's been terrible. Great, Brenda. I'm glad you like the ideas as well. So if it's been terrible, you're not alone. I've had moments of it too. So, feel free if you want some support. Again, I have ideas, lots of other amazing ideas out here, both live and afterwards. Put your comment in there if you're struggling, and somebody will comment. We've got one more thing to talk about, that's navigating the unknown. So I'm going to pause for just a second, give you a minute to type if you want, and then I'll keep going. I'm also going to pour some more water. Excuse me. I sort of like doing this on my phone. I get to stand up and get a little exercise. Okay. Excuse me. And the nice thing, social distancing, right? I just coughed and I was like, oh, I'm fine though. Yes, I'm fine, and I hope all of you are as well. Okay, so navigating the unknown is our last part of the conversation for today. So I hope this will bring you some calm, bring you some peace, because one of the things that I think is happening for parents in this time with coronavirus is even though we wear a lot of hats anyway, now we're like mom hat or dad hat, or maybe it's mom shorts, mom pants, whatever we're wearing, but the parent hat, and I'm the cook hat, and I'm the chauffeur. Maybe we get to take the chauffeur one off at this time, which is great. But now we're the teacher and the disciplinarian and whatever things that we are thinking, oh, I've got to do this. And then we have I'm a worker hat, I'm an entrepreneur hat, whatever else we have in our lives, again, varies. But we have so much pressure that we're putting on ourselves. And again, there's real realities that each of you are dealing with. So I honor those and acknowledge those. So I hope that this next little segment will be something where you can go, oh, I can wear that hat more lightly, or I can take that hat off. So really what our kids need from us, and this is at all times, and it's particularly true at a time that feels very unsettled and there's a lot of newness and unexpectedness, a lot of change and variation going on. They need, and this is from Dan Siegel and Tina Bryson, two of my favorite authors and teachers, they need the 4 S's. They need to feel safe, seen, soothed, and secure. Safe, seen, soothed, secure. Soothe is a hard one for me to say, but you got it. So, first of all, that's what you're going for. Secondly, you're not always going to do it right, and that's okay. It's not they need it every single time. You can do your best. And mostly they need it when they are definitely not feeling safe, seen, soothed, and secure. They need you to come in and help provide that support so they can come back into feeling safe, seen, soothed, and secure. So, and you're not always going to do it at those times either. So again, no pressure. It's not about I have to do these things. It's about, oh, what can I do as a parent to help my child feel safe, seen, soothed, and secure? That's what you're going for. So I have some specific suggestions that I hope will be helpful for you. Number 1, slow down. So the fear and the uncertainty tends to get us spiraling and go faster, 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 whether it's just in our minds or sort of out there, I've got to go run and get the toilet paper before it runs out, or do this or that. So we tend to, now we're up here, and the more that we speed up and let stress infuse our system, 1, we have a lot of negative things that we don't want going on in our body going on. 2, our children, they find their rhythm, their heartbeat, if you will, from our energy. So even if on the outside we're like, I'm cool, but inside we're like, I'm totally freaking out, they're going to feel that. And so, again, it's not about pressure. It's about knowing, oh yeah, the more I can do to support me, to be calm and settled and safe, seen, soothed, and secure, the more easily my children will feel that sense of security, okay? So that's number 1, slow down, take some deep breaths, do some things that help you, and they are little things matter. So like at the beginning of this call, I closed my eyes and I did that settling in. It took us all of 60 seconds. Yeah, you can do that. You absolutely can do that. You can lock the door on the bathroom if you need to do that. 60 seconds you can do, okay? So the next thing is find lightness and joy and love and laughter in the midst of all this. There's a lot of serious stuff. Yes, absolutely. And as adults, that's on us, right? That's our job. That's not children's job to handle that. That's our job. That being said, we too need the lightness and the love and the laughter. And so I'm going to share real quick before I go to my other tips. Let me think about that. Do I want to share it now? No, sorry. Change my mind. Look, see, you're adapting to change. Remind me at the end, somebody type in toilet paper meme, and I will tell you. You've probably already seen it, but if you haven't, you're going to love it. So find those things. And when you're looking for that lightness and joy and love, That also might mean that sometimes you're going to totally scrap your plan. Like if you have set up, here's our daily routine as a family, here's what we're going to attempt to do. You may be like, you know what, today is beautiful. Forget that plan. Let's go on a hike, or let's go outside and get our hands in the dirt. So know that yes, planning and preparation is useful, and sometimes you may just be like, nope, we're going to find joy and lightness by being spontaneous. Third piece, really important, I've said it already, it's worth saying about 1,000,000 more times. Be gentle with yourselves. Be gentle with yourselves. You are doing something no parent has done before you on this scale. So maybe in an individual family, and maybe you've even done it before. You've had a health crisis in your family or, something else. So I'm not saying you have no experience, but I'm saying we are in uncharted territory. So why would we beat ourselves up because we don't know what we're doing, or we're fumbling something, or we dropped this ball? It's like, okay, we're newbies. Be gentle. So be gentle with yourselves. And that's with our kids too. Again, how many of them have had a mass exodus from school or had their parents at home all the time? They're probably like, Mom, Dad, parents, please go away for a little bit, Yeah, thanks, Erin. So again, everybody is adapting and doing their best. So really, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Great job. Yes, thank you for what you're doing for everybody. Along that same lines, I wrote this to another parent recently, and I was saying, this might sound like an insult at first, but you don't know what you're doing. I don't know what I'm doing. We don't know what we're doing. And I say that in that spirit of, be gentle. It's okay. It's okay to not know, because as parents, one of the cultural messages is you should know what you're doing. And when you don't, you're a bad parent. And that's not true. And yet this is one of those times when we're layering that on. I should know what I'm doing. Bull. So just know that it's okay to not know. At the same time, even in not knowing, you can trust. Trust is about not knowing and trusting, having faith. So whether you are guided by some religious or spiritual teachings, remember that idea of, I don't know, and yet I trust. I trust that I can work my way through this. I can trust my kids that we're going to navigate through this moment that feels really hard right now. So not knowing and trust definitely go hand in hand. So you don't have to know. You can rely on trust right now. 2 more pieces. Forgive your kids. Forgive your partners. Forgive your kids' teachers. Forgive government officials. Forgive yourself. Offer that forgiveness, because again, we basically are all in this, okay, dress rehearsal. Nobody knows what they're doing. So find that place for yourself of, boy, I forgive. And I encourage you most strongly to use that with yourself, to use that with your kids and your immediate family, because there's going to be times, especially with all the togetherness, that it's going to be like, these people are driving me crazy. It's them, or it's me because I'm the worst parent. Whatever it is, that judgment's going to come out. So the more forgiveness we can extend, the easier our journey will be. And last point under navigating the unknown is do things that feel good and are primarily healthy. So I say that because if you have, some habits that are old, like, okay, what I do for self-soothing is I get drunk. That's not healthy. That doesn't mean you can't have a glass of wine. You all each have to know your own boundaries and your own history. I am saying, though, that rather than making this all about the have-tos and the shoulds and the musts, which feel really predominant right now for many of us, let it be about the choose-tos, the want-tos, the would-like-tos. So the things that feel good. So if that means watching some silly movies, and normally you only watch a movie every couple weeks with your kids, watch 2 movies a week. It's okay. Do things that feel good and that are healthy for you and your family. Okay, so time for you. If you have some comments, Brenda, I'm going to come back and let me see if I can see what all you wrote. Working on art projects and outside play and hikes have worked well. Yay! Trying to do more structured school has not gone well unless it's your daughter's idea. I can relate to that. So yeah, so that's where that conversation about what is it you want? You know, maybe she wants you to be like a teacher, you know, and maybe you make up a funny teacher name. I'm Mrs. Pencil. I don't know, you know, and maybe you develop a persona around Mrs. Pencil, you know. And so maybe that could make school more of her choice. Um, Again, you don't have to, but those are ways when you have that conversation about what are you wanting with the schoolwork idea? What am I wanting? What are we wanting and needing as a family? Then you can get to some of that conversation as well. And you can get creative because you all are brilliant, creative parents. I know you. Okay, while some more of you may be typing and thinking, I'm going to finally go to toilet paper so you won't have to type in toilet paper meme. So I saw this actually from a fellow parent last night, and it was take the words toilet paper. I have to close my eyes so I can visualize this. Take the words toilet paper and replace or put those words in for one word out of a movie title. And you can do it with books and stuff too. You don't just have to be movies, books, TV shows, especially with your kids. You know, they might not know a lot of movies, but they might know, you know, Goodnight Moon. So instead of Goodnight Moon, if you take moon out and put toilet paper, Goodnight Toilet Paper, or Toilet Paper Moon. And we had so much fun doing that. And people, I posted on my personal Facebook page, and it was hilarious. It was so much fun to... And we could hardly stop. It was like, okay, it's time to put the device down and go to sleep. But we just kept coming up with toilet paper this and Harry Potter and the Chamber of Toilet Paper. So it was hilarious. And again, totally apropos to this time. I can't even say that word today. It was just fun. So if you want to do that with your kids, you know, get out some books and, you know, think of some of your favorite book titles or your favorite movie titles, or, you know, Daniel Tiger if you watch Daniel Toilet Paper, you know, Toilet Paper Tiger. So I just thought that was so fun, and we have kept it up today. It's hilarious. So unless you don't have our sense of humor, but I found that like people could not stop commenting on it on my Facebook post, and then when I went back to my friends, tons of comments. So again, do that, do something else. Have fun. That's really what this time is about. It's about we're adapting. We're taking new steps. You might find something that for your family, it's like, wow, we just discovered the most miraculous gem in this time that when this is over, whatever it will look like when it's over, we want to carry this forward with us. Or we've discovered something that doesn't work well for our family, and so we're going to work to change it. Beautiful. That's what this time can be about. So I hope this has been helpful for you. I appreciate you being here with me today. And I would love it if you want to share this with friends. If you think it's been helpful or useful in some way, please share it with parent friends, because I see this as a time where parents are feeling incredibly stressed in different ways. And so I want to support them in letting go of some of that stress, having ways to connect with their families, and be gentle on themselves. So thank you very much for your time, your attention, and most of all, thank you for being conscious parents and doing your very best in this time of uncertainty to be loving, patient, and kind with the human beings that you're raising into adulthood and with the human beings that you each are at this moment. My love to each of you. Stay safe. Bye-bye.